Hello, this is Capcom Fighting Collection on PS4. Just want to go over the menus and options just to sort of document what's here. There's some interesting options in this collection of arcade ports made by Capcom themselves, apparently. Now, I haven't even looked at... I'm not going to look at online play. I don't have Plus. I haven't looked at the museum also. Now, I bought this. It is Thursday, the 23rd, but it's past 9 a.m. here on the West Coast, so it's the 24th on the East Coast, and the game became available for purchase at 9 p.m. Pacific time, so I bought it, and it said it gave me, in the store, it gave me a DLC item. I'm not really sure what that was. I think when I first started the game, it said something, I think it was a gallery thing or something, but I'm not really sure. So they said they commissioned new art from a bunch of characters, so I think that's what this, or artists, so I think this is the new art. I guess I shouldn't go through it all. So I don't know what the DLC may have been, but you've got galleries for all the games. So that's cool, I guess. What was that? Oh, okay. Music. Listen to music from game soundtracks. Random shuffle all games. So I wonder what this stuff is in the Capcom Fighting Collection thing itself. Just different versions of stuff, maybe. Cap Jam's version. Maybe this was the DLC stuff. Is that why it's in yellow? I remember seeing some of these names here, I think, where they were also listing stuff they commissioned in addition to the artwork. So I think these are new tracks they commissioned, some of these. But I don't know if that was the DLC. Then you can do random shuffle all games. So you can just leave this in a music playing mode, I guess. Now if I went to here, well, that's still all games. What if I go in here? Now I can do a shuffle of just this game. Okay. Except it's not. It's not shuffling when I do R1 and L1. Well, anyway, that's the Music Fighter Awards. Play Darkstalkers and Night Warriors. Toggle player progress page. Let's see, so you can see your progress on their little built-in awards. Why is it only showing the Japanese? Whoops. Okay, I guess I did do that. Music continue. Alright. Yeah, so then it's got per game things as well. Oh, and it keeps track of your total sessions per game. That's pretty cool. And then you've got overall options you can set for all the games. Lots of languages. This was a thing you have to agree to and, read through the fine print when you first start the game. There's a menu button. You can set this to various of the weird buttons on your controller. I don't like having things on the menu button. My arcade stick does have a touchpad, or I don't like having things on the touchpad, but There's really nothing else that's too handy on my Hori Real Arcade Pro 2017 edition arcade stick, aside from the start button, or the options button, which I kind of need for start. I haven't had to use this coin button because I have all the games on free play, but I can't unmap this. So, whatever. Music is a weird title. It should have just called this sound, because you can set game volume here. So that's a little weird. And sound effect volume. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure what this is. Maybe this is when you're... Well, this normally Challenger would be when somebody joins in to play versus against you. So I don't know if that applies just to people coming in from online or local or what. The default was remix. I set it back to original. Network, as I said, I'm not going to be doing any online stuff, but you can set input delay and connection strength. I guess that's, you know, how sensitive you want it to be when making matches. And then you've got credit switch. Look to be unskippable. Okay, well, I couldn't seem to speed it up, but you can get out of it. So, yeah, I don't... Okay, so I don't have plus. What'll it tell me? Well, it will seem to let me in. This is the first Darkstalkers game. Is there a leaderboard yet? There is. Oops, dang it. I like this track. Okay, thanks guys. So you can sort by your friends list. What do we got here? Oh no, I don't want to do that. That was my pulling up my profile, I guess. You can scan up and down or something. Oh, if I hold LR. Oh, but it only goes down to 65 right now. I can sort by my friends if I wanted to. Rank. I don't have a rank. Oh no, it has to do this again. Well, hopefully this leaderboard thing is more robust than in the one that was in Capcom 30th Anniversary, but this game, that one was not, that collection, 30th Anniversary, was not made by Capcom themselves. So hopefully this one will be better. I mean, maybe it'll let me play without PS Plus. Probably everybody playing Vampire Savior. No, I don't want to stand by. Well, it looks like it's going to let me do it, which is weird because I don't have Plus. Oh, maybe it won't. I don't think it would do this if it was 5 Plus. Yep, there you go. Okay, we're not doing that. Let me back out. Okay, so yeah, that's as far as I can get in online play. So offline play, here you've got your rotating menu. This is just like the menu in Capcom Beat 'em Up bundle that rotates like this, which Capcom also did in-house, apparently. Now there is what looks like a glitch in this basic menu that I'll show you right now. So you notice that each game has an English version and it shows the date of the ROM's release, and a Japanese version. You can toggle between the two, and for games that had different logos in the English-speaking countries or in Japan, it toggles the logo as well. That's like Beat 'em Up bundle. But so there are a couple games in this bundle that were only released in Japan, and those are Vampire Hunter 2 and Vampire Savior 2. Those are to the left in the rotational menu over there. So if you have it on English and you toggle over to those, it switches to Japanese version. And then if you go back to English available ones, it does not switch back to English. So if you're constantly rotating through this menu, it's going to always be setting you back to Japanese versions if you rotate through those two. See, I set it to English, then I'm just rotating around, blah, blah, blah. Whoop, I got toggled to Japanese because I went through those two. So that's kind of messed up, if you ask me. They should do something about that, because that's a little irritating if you want to play the English versions. And you can set which player you come in as. Each game, you'll see these buttons at the bottom. You can do various things. The game settings for some of these are interesting. And I'm going to go through these for all the games. So I guess I'll just start on Super Puzzle Fighter 2 Turbo, or AKA Super Puzzle Fighter 2X. So you set difficulty for, and these vary per game as well, so you'll see different settings for each one. I'm not sure what handicap does in Super Puzzle Fighter 2X. You see at the top, though, there's two tabs, so if I hit R1, these are the EX settings. I kind of wish they had just put these all on one page, because it might be easy for some players to miss these. I haven't tried the boot display. I guess that's probably just the arcade startup mode stuff. I don't really want to see that, so I just leave it to the default none. Most games that have secret characters have this on easy select. I think that probably means the characters just show up automatically without you having to enter the codes, the old arcade codes. But if you wanted to enter the old arcade codes, you could do that. Or if you just didn't want the secret character showing up on the select menu, you could set it to that. But these are the default settings. Controller settings. Here you can set your controls for the games. Now, I don't know if there's anything unusual in this. Once you get into a game, you also have a pause menu that's available when you push that menu button. Remember, mine, you set that in the main hub outside the rotational menu. You would have to back out with the circle button. So if I hit the touchpad, you can set controller settings again. You can set sound settings again. You notice there's fewer sliders here than there were in the overall collections quote-unquote music menu, so that's kind of odd. A little puzzled by that. Now, the display settings are something to check out. All the games default, I think, to this pop art setting. You'll notice it's all blurry. That's just while you're in this menu, which is sort of irritating, and I wish it didn't do that. So there's various sidebars you can put on here if you like that kind of thing. I guess there's only 3. I wonder if one of those was a DLC I got. I don't know. Anyway, I tend to turn those off personally. If they were nicer, I might be tempted to keep them on, but these are kind of distracting and garish, and the art style isn't my thing. These filters, so it defaulted, I think, to D. I don't remember. Let's see what that looks like. So yeah, it did. So that's scan lines. I don't know, I don't tend to use scan lines in my games, so I don't know if these are good scan lines or not. I tend to think fake scan lines are silly. I mean, I grew up playing in the arcades, but I do not like simulated scan lines. It seems dumb to me. And if I was a game developer, which I was a game developer, but not back in the old CRT days exactly, I think I would just want unfiltered, but I want unfiltered. So it doesn't explain what these do. Let's see what Type C does. That's a more vertical and horizontal scan line, or whatever you would call it. I don't know the names of these things. Here's Type B. That's a tighter, smaller square pattern there. Type A. That's clearer looking. It's a much tighter pattern still. Type G. just different types of scan lines. Oh, I see the pattern in the background there is sort of... Oh, this one's a little blurry, though. Maybe that's the point. More scan lines, now back to horizontal types. That's a blurry one. What's this? Is this the non-blurry one? Yeah, this is non-blurry horizontal. Alright, well, so I personally just put it on none because I think that stuff is all silly. Display size, I forget what the default was. It might have been full. So full is just, I think, you know, quote-unquote normal aspect ratio as you would have seen it in the arcade. But, you know, made as big as will fit in that arcade aspect ratio on your monitor, which is probably widescreen, which the arcade was not. You can set it to... Now, I'm not sure what this 4:3 means exactly. I looked at another game like Darkstalkers, which had a circle, you know, that's circles in some of the menus that I recognize. Now, you see that circle up at the top there? That looks too narrow now, and the logo looks too narrow. So I think this 4:3 setting is... it's simulating something like if you took full and converted that to square pixels, perfectly square pixels, which is essentially what we've done here, and then you took those square pixels and displayed them on a 4:3 monitor, because classic 4:3 monitors did not actually have square pixels. They were like 90% square or something. So I think this is simulating what this game, what old ports of this game that did have square pixels, old ports to like PS1 or something, the aspect ratio they might have, like an old console port of Puzzle Fighter. I guess that's what this might be. But it's not arcade accurate. It's console accurate, if that makes sense. So, yeah, so that's probably what 4:3 means. That's just a guess, though. I don't really know. I'm not really sure what original means either. I mean, when you see something like this with borders, you tend to think it means it's putting it at a perfect pixel multiple. Like, you know, this is like perfectly... The pixels are the exact arcade pixels just multiplied up times 2 or something, you know, so you're not stretching anything. You're just making it bigger on these higher resolution modern displays. But that doesn't really make sense for these games, because these, I think, all ran on CPS arcade boards, which ran at non-square pixel resolution. So they've already had to do some pixel ratio, aspect ratio scaling. So the pixels that they're using, that they're converting from the arcade are not... You can't do perfect multiples of those on a home display like this, because the home displays we have now have square pixels. They don't have the rectangular pixels that the arcade monitors and boards used. So I really don't understand what this is. I mean, maybe it's just there to give you... Oh, see, the wallpapers don't even cover that spot, so that's just goofy. I don't know. If somebody knows what the point of these is, let me know, because I'm missing on what those are. Wide stretches it to take up the entire screen. Some people like that kind of thing. I don't. So yeah. So normally, if you were talking about like a Neo Geo game, which did have more or less square pixels in the arcade, then something like this would make sense, where you would have borders, because you can do perfect multiples of those arcade pixels. But with CPS stuff, you can't, if you're converting it to a modern display. So yeah, I just don't know what these are supposed to be. I mean, maybe they did something that they figured is the closest they can get to a perfect multiple. So perhaps this is technically a cleaner display than doing this. But, you know, in some of the fighting games where you have a lot of scrolling up and down, you can... maybe it's just subconscious, but there's some kind of slight flickering going on across the screen as far as my eyeballs seem to think. And I think that is the sort of rescaling, the dynamic rescaling of pixels that's going on or something. I don't know. It's weird. But in any case, that is not any better if you set it to original. I still get this slight sense of a slight flicker. So yeah, I don't know. I'm just going to keep mine on full. So that's all I know about that stuff. There is quick save and quick load, which hopefully just do what they say. You can just save where you're at and quit and come back later. I have not tried those. Super Gem Fighter Mini Mix is a game I want to play because I haven't played an actual arcade port of this before. I've only played the PS1 version essentially, which is in the PS1 version is in the PS2 Japanese, or no, it's not even Japanese, just in the PS2 Street Fighter Alpha Anthology, I think. And then you can also download the PS1 version from the PlayStation Store for PS3 or whatever. Let's see what the game settings here are. A lot of the games have a speed select. You can set it so it's free select, so you have to pick in the game itself using the original game menus, or you can hard code it to one of the speeds, which is handy. Now, this is to me the most interesting option, Light Reduction, and it defaults to on. But it is not available on all the games, like it was not on Super Puzzle Fighter 2 Turbo, I don't think. The games that have the light reduction option are Super Gem Fighter, Street Fighter, Hyper Street Fighter 2 has it. Red Earth does not, so... Well, maybe I should just say the games that don't have it. Red Earth doesn't have it. Savior, Hunter 2, and Savior 2 do not have it. And I guess Puzzle Fighter 2 does not have it. Yeah, so it's really interesting though, and I'll show you on a game that I've tested it on what it does. Basically, it's always on the tab over page. You have to hit R1 or L1 to toggle over. What it seems to do in the games I've looked at is turn off effects where the screen would strobe a color. Like in the game I'll show you, when you knocked somebody out, there was a red strobe effect, which was really gruesome on my eyeballs, my old eyeballs. So light reduction seems to just kill those strobe effects completely. You don't see any flash at all. They're just gone, which is really good. And I kind of wish they could do that even for games that just have a single flash. For instance, Savior, Hunter 2, and Savior 2, when you knock somebody out, they have a single red screen flash, which isn't probably going to cause anybody migraines or seizures or anything, but my eyeballs find it slightly annoying, and so I don't play these versions that are in all the other compilations also. But except for the PS1 version of Vampire Savior, does not have those. So I played the PS1 version. And I wish these had light reduction as well, but they don't. So I think they just did it on. I mean, it must take extra engineering for them to do that, to go, because they have to figure out, okay, where are the flashes. Maybe they found an automatic way to detect strobes, but I tend to think they probably did it manually. They probably just had to go into the ROMs, play the games, find the strobe sections, and say, okay, we got to kill those. We got to have an option to kill those because they're going to upset people. So they put in it, and it defaults to on. So they killed the strobing effects in the game. So you can turn them back on if you want them. If you want the original strobing effects, you can come in and set light reduction off. If you do that, you're kind of insane, but I guess that's closer to the original arcade experience. But I'll show you a bad one. Well, I'll show you a sort of bad one. I won't show you the worst one I know about because it's bad. Anyway, so Pocket Fighter. Oh, see, it's already set me back to the Japanese thing. Just looking at footage of this version online, it's less flashy than the PS1 version. I think that's essentially because the PS1 version had to cut a lot of animation frames. So essentially, where the PS1 version is jumping between cut animations, like on menu or on menu transitions, there will be an effect of flash because it has to cut abruptly. Whereas this version, you see right there, actually, there was a pretty smooth transition, a very fast but still smooth transition. So this is a super deformed fighting game, essentially. Now, see, there the default speed was 2. I want to keep that in mind. See, I accidentally set this, it got set back to Japanese, which is annoying. Also, see, I guess the sidebar actually fits in this game because it's so crazy anyway. And the art style looks pretty much like the game characters look. Okay, I don't have my buttons mapped. Anyway, I'm not really going to show you all the games in this, just showing you menus. The games, as far as these pause menu goes, it's all the same menu, so these don't vary except, of course, for move lists. I find these move lists slightly difficult to read. Everything is just jammed into a single list and not really differentiated clearly. Also, you just loop the scrolling, so that I wish it would stop at the bottom, you know, because that's usually where the supers are. And I don't really want it to just jump back to the beginning because that's a little confusing. Again, there's tabs at the top. You hit R1 and L1 to go through. It shows you the regular moves or normals, which is quite thorough, actually. But I still find, I don't know, I find this whole thing a little difficult to read. You know, there's transparent stuff behind it. That's making it harder to read. These icons are thin lines and kind of hard to read. I'm not a huge fan of just the design there. That it's a little less legible than it should be. But quite thorough, it must be said. It doesn't look like they skimped on actual amount of content in that move list. Let's go to, let's see if this is as thorough as the others. Yeah, so the fighting games, you can actually, in addition to just being able to change what, kick or punch or whatever is on a given button, you can set specific special moves to execute from a single button. Per character, you're setting per character it's not, you're setting one character's special move. So if I set this would only, I guess, execute a single special move from the character Ibuki. So if you're playing some other character, Square, I guess, isn't going to do anything. It'd be weird if it made that character execute a Ibuki move, but that's pretty much not going to happen. So yeah, that's going above and beyond. I guess if you main a single character and you really want to have a certain move, I don't know, that's insane to me. That's insane. Look at this. Anyway, I forget what that was on. And you can't actually remap the coin, the menu, and the start buttons here because those are set on the outer menu for the entire collection. That's a little confusing, but that's how they decided to do that. I guess we've shown just about everything there. Oh, so on the fighting games, you'll notice that if you hit the option button from the main menu, it'll take you straight to training, which is interesting. So, for instance, I hit start here, and it says the game name, and then you're just directly into the training menu. Oh, thumbs down from Ken, huh? What a jerk that Ken. I love these perspective on these stages. So yeah, that's kind of cool. I guess we should also look at training menu options. So you have to hit the menu button, then you've got a training menu option. And also this change character thing. That's cool. You can also change the stage on the fly, it looks like. Let's try that, actually. Oh, I guess that won't happen until I actually do change character. Let's try that. Wait a second. Oh, so the default is this stage. Let's try bar. Actually, I did that wrong because you can... Okay. Okay, that works. I don't think I've seen this stage. Is that DJ just going insane back there? What if I just change this here and then back out? No, okay, so you would have to go through change character. The training menu itself, as usual, you can change the actions of the dummy character you're facing. It does have a versus CPU mode, so you can just fight, you know, risk-free, basically. I don't have my buttons set. I have no idea what's going on. So anyway, you can fight versus CPU, sort of, in doing that. Got your block, auto random, okay. Throw recoveries, air recoveries. These are more or less universal among the... Oh, this one has a few more, though, I think, among the various fighting games. Set how the health recovers, energy meter recovers, stun. Wait a second. Oh, that's one for the dummy and then one for the player. You can set those separately. You can set the... I did turn these off because I was capturing something earlier. And then you can simulate a network delay. I'll turn this all the way up. I don't feel that delay. Well, I don't know. So you can see that the inputs are displayed over on the left. I still find those icons a little hard to read. I find that font in the upper right pretty hard to read. Again, it's got a transparent background. They should have made an option for a non-transparent background or put it in the sidebar area or something. It's just a little hard to read. It's a very thin font as well. So not the most legible things that they in the graphics they've added, unfortunately. But that's part of why I just turned that stuff off. So that's the training. You can't, it didn't look like there. Well, shoot, I'll check it in hyper fighting. How about that? Actually, no, there was one thing. Oh, this is going to get confusing. I'm skipping around too much. Speed select. Okay, it looked like the default setting in-game was Turbo 2. So if you wanted to skip that speed selection, you would just set this to Turbo 2 and then start the game. I don't like that guy's name or voice. I mean, I'm sorry, guy. It just sounded a little weird. Didn't sound like classic arcade voice to me. Sounded like hipster modern voice. So yeah, it skipped, unless I just did it. I just pushed the button too fast, but I don't think there was a speed select in there. Well, that old game font isn't too easy to read either. Anyway, let's get out of here. Hyper Street Fighter, I'm interested to check this game out. I do have this on PS2, but I guess I didn't look at it a whole lot. Again, I wish it told you what the in-game default speed was. But anyway, it doesn't. Here you have light reduction again, so there must be some kind of strobing effect that's basically being removed, which is cool. Let's see what the boot display on for this one does. You can set coin settings, but the default is free play. I don't really see much reason not to put it on that. Here you can toggle mirror matches, which is interesting. And again, Akuma is a secret character, so you can turn him off if you want. Let's see what it looks like with Akuma turned on by default there. And the boot display on. I guess I just looked at those, didn't I? I'm not going to bother setting my controls. Give me that boot stuff. Okay, here's boot screen stuff. It shows you the ROM name and date. I guess this stuff would be cut out as well. These old arcade warnings. That's just about it. So it doesn't actually show you the real, like, ROM boot up debug info stuff. So now these are flashes, but just single or just minor strobe? I don't know. They didn't cut those out anyway. So the default. Now you notice that this and mini mix, the menu let you set a speed 4, and the menu does not have a speed 4. Now I kind of want to see what speed 4 does. See, now my favorite Street Fighter is the original World Warrior, so I'm kind of curious as to whether setting normal puts you on turbo speed. I kind of doubt it. I think it does. Is that the original World Warrior character art? I think it is. And you can tell at the bottom that I'm on World Warrior because it's just the 2 down there, the original 2. So you still have to fight T-Hawk. T-Hawk is not in World Warrior. I don't want to fight T-Hawk. I hate fighting T-Hawk. You always have to fight T-Hawk first in Super Turbo, it seems like. Either him or what's the Bruce Lee clone name? Whatever his name is. Oh my gosh. I don't have my buttons mapped. What other excuses can I make? Where's Fireballs at? I did one. There, I'm winning. So you can't change speed or anything like that on the fly here, which is kind of too bad. And I kind of wish I didn't have to keep shutting those off per game. Again, you've got your move list. Not too much there, but this is the original Ryu, so he didn't have too many moves. Let's go see what Speed 4 looks like. And that can go off. That wasn't actually that interesting. Oh, I didn't... Okay, keep an eye out for Akuma on the main menu. Forgot to look at that. Okay. So this is going to just be ridiculous speed, the speed that is not normally selectable. So I don't see Akuma there. Maybe he's off to the side somewhere. Oh, but see, I can only pick the original 4. And Akuma, I don't think, was not in until a later game anyway. I wonder if I can reboot this thing. Oh, you can't just restart the game. That's a bummer. There should just be a, reboot or something option. I mean, you can quit, which is fairly fast. I don't know. A reboot would have been handy. Okay, I'm going to go back in and pick Super Turbo and see if I can get Akuma just to show up on the character select screen. Or maybe you still have to do some kind of code. I don't know. Fei Long, that's the Bruce Lee imitation. There he is. So, up from Ryu. Yeah. So you don't have to do a code. It's just up from Ryu. Of course, I should have kept it on Ryu if we're trying to compare speeds. See, that says Turbo 3 down at the bottom of the screen. I mean, it seems pretty fast. Oh gosh, I don't have buttons. I mean, it's, you know. Oh man, that sounded weird. It's too fast. See, now the fire effects are something that used to bug my eyes when they were a little more photosensitive, the flickering fire, but the light reduction is not stopping those. Do these, and the other thing is that it's too bad they didn't have like per game, well, oh, I guess they do, they changed, what am I thinking? I just don't like the art style still, I guess is my problem. That one's okay, but it's kind of, it just doesn't, it's too busy. It needs a little more UI design. I don't know. That's just my opinion. There are some games, some ports, for instance, the Garo Mark of the Wolves on PS4 has some really nice sidebar art that does, you know, sometimes have just character art on it, but it fits. It feels like it's a sidebar. So anyway, that's some more of the stuff you can enable. Set that stuff back. Okay, I think that was all normal. Alright. Red Earth, aka Warzard. This has not been ported before. Well, that's interesting. There's another training option here. It says training boss. Let's look at our options first, though. Attack power, handicap. Don't know what that means exactly. Graphic content, that probably means blood. So they're not censoring blood by default. Don't know what versus points is. Sets the levels for... Oh. So you have to learn moves or something? I don't know. Let's see this boss training thing. Only 4 characters? Gosh. Mailing. I guess I don't have a password, sir. Oh my goodness. So this game does not have the flash reduction. There's these pretty terrible strobe, color cycling strobe effects, so I'm not going to be playing through this game in any any recorded episodes. So I guess, I mean, the whole game is a boss rush, so I don't know what the difference. Let's see if there's a training menu here. Dummy behavior. Are there fewer options here? You can set the CPU on. I don't know. I don't know enough. I've never played this game before, so I have no idea. Well, let's, hang on. Move list. That's all the usual stuff. All right. Yeah, I mean, I've seen video of Red Earth running in this collection, and it still had these color strobe effects, so I'm not going to play that game. I did look at the game settings. Yes. Let's look at Darkstalkers, the first Darkstalkers. You can keep your blood on by default. Again, you've got light reduction, so it turns off strobes. You can enable the secret characters again, which are there by default. I'm not sure exactly what this is. Choose whether to allow extra inputs on Dimitri's bat spin move. Maybe that's... there was a glitch where you could mash out extra hits or something. This sounds like another glitch that you can optionally enable for a specific move. Not too much unique going on there. I mean, the original Darkstalkers, compared to Vampire Savior, for instance, is a little bit rough. But for its time, I mean, this game, I think, Street Fighter was still on some Street Fighter 2 or other. Now, that was a bit of a strobe, but possibly it's worse without the light reduction. I do like this old select menu. It's just got a certain homey charm to it. I already turned off the sidebars for this one. But they are Darkstalker sidebars. Ugh. I think I set my buttons for this as well. Yeah, I did. Now, the first Darkstalkers never had a red flash effect on knockout in the arcade, so that's never going to be there anyway. This is the second Darkstalkers game. It's called, in the US, it was called Night Warriors Darkstalkers Revenge. In Japan, it was just called Vampire Hunter Darkstalkers Revenge. Now, I set this to turbo myself. The mode select is for... This phrasing is a little confusing, but I tested it, and if you set it to on, you have to pick between normal or auto guard. If you set it to off, which is the default is on, if you set it to off, which is what I set it to, it does not auto guard. So I don't want auto guard. But if you set it to off, you don't have auto guard, and you don't have to pick that menu every time, which is handy. Again, there's a blood option, which is defaults to blood on, and light reduction is on. So I'll show you what this looks like with, well, I'll show you what it looks like with light reduction off. So if you don't want to see a white screen strobe, skip ahead 15 seconds or so. Because there's one right at the beginning of the intro, and it's going to come up here right now. So skip ahead if you don't want to see this lightning type strobe. This is with light reduction off. This is not the default setting. It's the original arcade display. That's pretty gross. Now, watch what happens if we turn light reduction back on, this is the default setting in this collection is on. So it's going to change the display of the game. It's not going to display that flash that was in the original arcade. Night Warriors, Darkstalkers Revenge. And it's very apparent. So watch when the title comes up. There'll still be a flash, but it's not the full screen. There, so it's just the letters, not the background. So that's pretty dramatic, and good for Capcom for doing that. I wish more companies paid attention to that, and I wish Capcom had also enabled it for single flash effects, like the single red screen flash in the last 3 vampire games on character knockouts. But, you know, applause to them for doing it in the very worst cases in these games, though. That's really cool. What was I going to do in here? I don't remember. Probably not. Oh, well, so yeah, I had turned these off as well. So these are all more or less game specific. I don't know what I'm doing. So more characters to choose from in this one. I keep picking Morgan by personal default. So normally when there's a knockout in this game, I think at the end of each round, but definitely by the end of a match, oh, maybe it is just at the end of a match, there's a red screen strobe effect, actually. It's really bad in this one. In the later games, it's a single red screen flash, and they left that in, but in this one, and they did not give a light reduction option in those games. But in this one, it's a red screen strobe, and it's pretty gruesome if your eyeballs don't like that kind of thing. So right now, light reduction is on, so you'll see when when somebody gets finally KO'd, there's no flash at all, which is awesome to me. Now, if you're a purist and you want all of the flash that was in the arcade, then you can turn that light reduction option off, and you'll get it. It's pretty gruesome. I mean, modern displays are brighter and bigger for the most part, and it's pretty hideously rough on the old eyeballs. But you can do it if you want. I don't know how to play Sasquatch. I'm back here. So no red flash whatsoever. This is the only port of Darkstalkers Revenge that does not have a red screen flash on KO, but you can turn it back on if you want it. You just go into that EX option set menu and turn the flash reduction to off. But I think this is great, so I can finally play. I can play through Vampire Hunter. So I'm going to do that in my next recording. So that's that. I love this crazy menu music. I think that's about it for that. Okay. So Vampire Savior, there is no flash reduction setting. Oh, I did want to... Oboro Bishamon is like a super powered version of Bishamon, I believe. Well. Oh yeah, I did see Weetzel in the menu there. Oh, I guess that's not this game. Well, whatever. So these 3 Vampire Savior games essentially just changed the cast a little bit. They sort of rotated the cast. See, they set this by... Or no, I set it to Turbo 3. By default, it was on Free Select 3. And I'm not quite sure. I assumed that maybe that was just with Turbo 3 as the default setting. I don't know. I'm not sure. Also, you can turn the auto guard thing to Free Select, which I think was the default. I turned it to off. These other things should have more or less the same options. So Vampire Hunter 2 and Vampire Savior 2 only came out in Japan. You cannot toggle the ROM, and they do reset your setting for the other games when you toggle back to those, if you had those on English. They just changed the cast of the characters. This sets it back to the cast of Vampire Hunter, and this swaps some of the other characters around. I forget which ones. That's most of the difference. There are other system differences as well. Cyberbots looks fairly standard. Has light reduction. Easy select for secret characters. All of these fighting games have their training modes. And they pretty much all have, the per character attack things. Now I was thinking I was not going to play Cyberbots. I think Cyberbots is in, well no, there's a PS1 Cyberbots. I guess that's what I was thinking of. But with this flash reduction option on, I might be able to play this game. It's still got a lot of flashies in it, as I'll show you. Just flashing electrical effects, because you're piloting these giant mecha, essentially. Now you may recognize him from Marvel vs. Capcom 2, the pilot. Jin Saotome. Saotome? Maybe. Yeah, Jin Saotome. He's a playable character just as a regular, on-foot guy in the Versus series. At least in Marvel vs. Capcom and Marvel vs. Capcom 2. Maybe there's some others I can't remember. So I haven't set up my controls in this either, but see, just a lot of big lightning effects, even on this first stage. I noticed that on whatever this default difficulty is, you can just do jump-ins on this guy repeatedly in the first stage. He ripped my arm off! Give me my arm back. I do like these stage backgrounds. The characters, they aren't really as intuitively appealing as human characters are to us, I think. So I think any robot fighting game kind of has that going against it. It's a hard road to climb. But yeah, see, my character's flashing. There's a big explosion there. I think I noticed that when I sent the flash reduction or light reduction to off, that flash right before the enemy exploded was actually a strobe on their character, and so I think it reduced that a little bit. But yeah, this game is still fairly flashy. Just even with the strobe effects or whatever cut out with the light reduction option. Okay. This music's pretty cool. Oh, he got me. Look at that thing, there's a big ship launching in the background. Uh-oh. Oh, I have a big sword attack. I'm just mashing a single button. I don't know what's going on. This game is not very hard so far. I just want to see what the flashing looks like, even with the reduction on. Light reduction on. Maybe I'm not going to get this guy now, though. He's turned up the heat. Oh my goodness. Golden. Oh my gosh, he's anti-airing the heck out of me. He's just burning me up. Alright, well, it got hard. I mean, too hard for my mashing a single button. Oh no. Golden, stop. Oh, I came close though. Okay, maybe I can get him. You see, you got power meters flashing. It's a pretty flashy game. Come on. Come on, I'm just mashing a single button. It's got to work. No. Oh, alright, it's not working. He decided not to let me win. Alright. But yeah, I don't think I'm probably not gonna play that game. It is pretty flashy. And that's... Did we go through all of it? Gosh. So yeah. Actually, let me just make sure I did have that off. Or on, yeah, I did. So that's the menus and options in these games. I hope that was useful to some folks. That light reduction option is pretty sweet as far as I'm concerned. Oh, it does not exist in Super Puzzle Fighter 2 Turbo. So, that probably just means this game didn't have horrible strobe effects in the arcade. But yeah, games with horrible strobe effects have those. Those are turned off by default. You can turn on the horrible strobe effects if you want. You just go into the EX options for the game and toggle over and turn that to off if you want the horrible strobe effects. I don't. So thank you, Capcom, for that option. Seems like a pretty solid port. Of course, I don't know anything about the network play. But just as far as how the games run and the options available, seems pretty good. The input delay is pretty good. I tested that in my previous video. I counted 4 frames of input delay with Light Punch from Morgan in Vampire Savior, whereas when I tested other PlayStation versions, one PlayStation version had slightly better input delay or input lag than this collection, which I counted 4 frames on my setup. The PS1 version, Darkstalkers 3, has only 3 frames of input lag on my system. The PS2 Vampire Savior and the Vampire Darkstalkers collection, that only came out in Japan, that has 5 frames of delay on my setup, so it's more laggy inputs than this collection. And the version of Vampire Savior in the PS3 Darkstalkers collection, on my system, I measured 4 frames, so that's identical to this one. That collection was done by Iron Galaxy. So yeah, pretty good input delay. The PS1 version, still a little more responsive controls. That version does have some animation cuts, but it does have all of the vampire characters in the game, whereas Savior removes the three from Night Warriors, and then Hunter 2 and Savior 2 juggle the cast around, but none of these have all of the characters in one game, because they just didn't have an arcade version that did. So, if you can play PS1 games, track down Darkstalkers 3 sometime, take a look. It's an excellent port. It was made by Capcom themselves back in the day. Pretty good stuff. Probably not quite as fluid feeling as these, I would say, as these versions. But very responsive and very good looking and super fun. So anyway, this seems like a cool collection. I'm going to be recording individual episodes of me playing through Vampire Hunter Darkstalkers Revenge. Might eventually do Vampire. I don't really like this game so much. It's a little rough. Fighting the boss is not fun at all. But it's the same boss in this one, so I'm not particularly looking forward to that. I'm also going to be doing an episode of Pocket Fighter, at least one, probably multiple if I find it to be fun. And am I going to be doing Hyper Street Fighter 2? I don't know. Oh, see, now I'm back on Japanese version. Not too sure about this one. Like, you can play, World Warrior style, but you're not fighting the World Warrior. I don't have my controls mapped. You're not fighting World Warrior opponents, you're fighting Super Turbo opponents. That's what it was. Now I remember. Yeah, the PS2 version. That that was unfortunate as far as I was concerned. You can't set the CPU to use a specific type. Man, look at Ryu's arm there. So that was too bad, because I basically wanted to make it into World Warrior, you know, just like a, I don't know, slightly more modern version of World Warrior, but, you know, maybe with super turbo graphics, essentially, but that does not seem to be possible. Look at me, don't even have my buttons mapped. Look at old World Warrior Ryu with his weird ear. But yeah, you're still on turbo speed. Actually, wait, can you... I mean, if you went into this... No, it would still be on a turbo. You can't set it to non-turbo. So yeah, I don't think I'm going to bother recording that game. But yeah, I will be doing Pocket Fighter and Vampire Hunter. So that's cool. I'll probably be doing those coming up soon, over the weekend, in fact. Because I want to try them out. This is a Vampire Hunter without the horrible strobe effects, which has not existed before now. So that's awesome. Thank you, Capcom. And Warzard has never been ported, or Red Earth has never been ported. So I've wanted to play that game for years, but it's got horrible color strobe effects. So I think I'm just gonna give it a pass. But I am also looking forward to trying this out. Finally, a decent arcade port. So that's cool. I got 2 new games to play. These are nice versions of the other Vampire games. It's just they have flashing effects that I don't want to mess with. Also, the PS1 version does not have the flashing effects and has slightly better input delay, so I'll stick with the PS1 version. I know nobody cares to watch my episodes of that one, but I have fun with it, so nuts to all you folks. And I guess this will be the version of Night Warriors that I would play if I wanted to play Night Warriors, though, because the other version I have is in that PS2 Vampire Darkstalkers collection, but that one has worse input delay. I think. In theory it does, because its version of Vampire Savior has worse input delay. So yeah, if I want to play Night Warriors, I will play this version. But I don't really like Night Warriors, so I won't be doing that for a while, if ever. Probably I could play Puzzle Fighter 2 in terms of display problems, but I don't really like Puzzle Fighter. It's just not my thing. I'll stick with the fighting games. Alright, well, thanks for watching this this video. In fact, I was going to record a playthrough tonight of Night Warriors, or Darkstalkers Revenge, I should say. But it might be too late for that. If not, I'll do it tomorrow. Anyway, thanks for watching this video about the menus and options of Capcom Fighting Collection on PS2, not including the online stuff because I don't have Plus, and I went through them as far as I could, but then it discovered that I did not have Plus, and it basically told me to buy Plus, which I did not do. So you do need Plus to play online, which was pretty clear from the beginning, so I can't claim that I was misled about that at all. So, cool looking collection, pretty much what I was hoping it would have. I really am amazed by this light reduction option that makes those horrible strobe effects in some of these games go away. Capcom didn't really talk about that option anywhere. I just happened to notice in video in the trailers they posted that when they showed a clip of somebody getting knocked out in Night Warriors, there was in Darkstalkers Revenge, there was no red screen flash, and I was like, what? So yeah, that's cool, and more ports of old games should do that, because there's a lot of, especially these old fighting games from the 90s, just horrible flashing effects, man. They're all over the place. I would even like them to crack down more on the single red screen flashes on Knockout in these later Vampire games. Actually, in all the screen flashes. Just get all the screen flashes out of there. They're all over the place. But anyway, they got rid of the worst ones, so that's good. But you can turn it back on if you're a weirdo and you just want to murder your eyeballs. That's up to you. Alright, that's it for now. Thanks, and good night.